Hey, happy Thursday, and thanks for joining us for another video blog here at International Maritime Security Associates. Every Thursday, we post a new video here on our video blog channel that discusses a different maritime industry related topic. Each week, we just take a few minutes to discuss certain topics of interest to the maritime industry, to large yachts, cargo lines, and cruise lines. When we discuss topics like we will today of a regulatory nature, we always ask that you take a look at the date that this video was posted, because laws, regulations, international guidelines always change. So make sure you always take a look at the dates. The purpose of this is to interact with our audience, with our fans, with our customers, contractors, employees, and people who are interested in things that are happening in the maritime industry. We like to cover different topics, from topics affecting cargo lines and cargo facilities around the world, cruise lines, large yachts, and even once in a while recreational marine industry related topics. So make sure you interact with us through the comments section here below, or through our social media. And if there's any questions you have or we can help you professionally, don't hesitate to reach out to us through our website, through email, or also through our social media. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a topic that has garnered national and international news attention, and that's migrants at sea. We're going to take a look at just some foundational things to consider as a large yacht captain, captain of a cargo line or cruise line, of some things that you need to do or to be aware of when it comes to dealing with migrants at sea. And in this 6 to 7 minute video, we're not going to be able to cover all of the nuances of how to deal with migrants at sea. So make sure you have a great understanding of international laws and regulations, of the different guidelines put forth by the IMO, but also your flag state and the regulations of countries that you'll transit through. So it's important to have a really good knowledge and understanding of the different laws, regulations, and guidelines out there when it comes to dealing with migrants. Also, one of the things that we always recommend here at IMSA is to have a plan. It doesn't have to be a plan that's contained in 12 binders with a lot of tabs and references. Have a simple plan in place that you and your crew members have trained through to understand, hey, if we come up on a migrant situation, this is what we're going to do. First, what I want to talk about is just a couple of laws and regulations from an international standpoint that deal with binding migrants at sea. And there's just a couple of things that I want to read. The first reference is the 1951 Convention on the status of refugees. The second is Article 12, 1958, on the Convention on High Seas, and then the next one is the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And Article 12 is something I'm going to concentrate on just here for a minute. In Article 12 of the 1958 Convention on the High Seas, Article 12 basically gives guidance of how to deal with migrants at sea. So flag state regulations and other country regulations really start with Article 12. And it says, every state shall require the master of a ship sailing under its flag, insofar as he can do without serious danger to the crew, the ship, or the passengers, to render assistance to any person found at sea in danger of being lost. And then there's a couple of other items below that: to proceed with all possible speed to the rescue of persons in distress, and then to render distress after a collision. The most important thing to remember, whether you're on a large yacht, a cargo line, or a cruise line, is the first point, is that you shall try to do what you can to help migrants at sea, as long as it doesn't cause any harm to your ship, to your passengers, or your crew. I spent 8 years in the Coast Guard working in the Caribbean, in Central and South America, and a number of the missions I was involved in dealt with migrants at sea. And the first part of our plan that we had was the safety of our vessel and crew, because if we have an issue with the vessel or there's injuries to our crew members, then we're not able to render aid. So make sure that you never put your vessel or your crew in danger when it comes to rescuing migrants. That's really the first part of the plan, is to be able to really determine what your capabilities are when it comes to doing a migrant rescue at sea. It's a very dangerous operation and a very involved operation. And sometimes, especially for large yachts, you don't have the capacity to be able to bring on a large group of people. So if you do find migrants at sea, sometimes the best thing to do is to be able to monitor the situation, and make sure you notify the appropriate authorities depending on where in the world that you're located. For cargo lines, you have a little bit more of a capacity because of the size of the ship. But again, it also gets back to the training of the crew members, whether you're cargo lines, cruise lines, or large yachts. If your crew members are not trained in how to deal with and how to rescue migrants at sea, sometimes trying to effect a rescue could potentially cause more harm to the migrants than you could to help them. The first thing to do when you come up on migrants at sea is to make sure you notify the nearest authorities, whether it's Navy or Coast Guard or law enforcement of the country that's the closest to your location or the country that would deal with that. That's the first thing, is to get search and rescue resources en route to be able to help and affect in the situation. Unfortunately, depending on where you find the migrants, sometimes search and rescue resources can be hours or days away. That's why it's important to always have a plan of how you want to deal with migrants in these different situations. When you look at migrant rescue at sea, it's really a safety of life at sea. It's a humanitarian crisis. Regardless of where these people have come from or where they're going, it's a crisis. And as mariners, we need to do our job to help other mariners regardless of the situation. So that's one of the things that we always want to consider, is we want to try to do as much as we possibly can. So make sure you understand the laws and the regulations of your flag state, plus IMO guidance, plus the guidance and regulations of the territorial seas of the countries that you'll come through. Make sure you have a plan in place to be able to deal with this type of a situation, and also make sure that you have a crew that is trained in the basics of what to do in different situations. If you have any questions on this or maritime risk management or any other maritime related topics, please don't hesitate to leave comments down below in the comments section. Also, connect with us through our website, through our social media. Once a week or once a month, we're going to be doing a show specifically dedicated to viewer questions, where we'll interact with you and answer your questions about different marine related topics. If you have questions specifically about migrant rescue and dealing with migrants at sea, we'll also have some links down below in the comments section as well to give you a little bit of a foundation. This video is hopefully just a start for you to be able to put a plan together of how to deal with migrants at sea. Thanks for joining us this Thursday, and again, remember to tune in every single Thursday when we'll post a new video blog.